You're listening to a podcast from thespoilist.com. Welcome to a First Contact special looking back at Season 4, kind of. I'm Andrew.
I'm James.
And I'm Alex.
Well, we've defeated the Borg, we've met the crew's family, welcomed back old friends, said goodbye to Wesley, and learned plenty about ourselves along the way. But now is the time to reflect. Look back and see if Alex, who is watching the show for the first time in case you need a reminder of the format, to see if he remembers anything about watching any of this. Now, for life reasons, we've been recording this season for a little longer than planned, starting in May 2018.
When we started this season, I had not had a child. As we record this now, he turned 3 last Friday.
And ending in July 2021. So some of this might not be fresh. And as I said, life reasons, big life events I think have occurred for all of us during watching Season 4 of Star Trek The Next Generation. So we might not have the strongest memories of these episodes. But first, listener questions. I asked people, because I was worried this podcast might not be long enough, to see if they had any questions for us or any observations that we might want to discuss here. So, first off, this is from the Sublime, one of our Twitter followers. Now you're past the halfway point. Have your respective views on TNG changed any?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. From when we started off. I'm not gonna say that we don't still have some real shonky episodes from time to time, but the percentage of how often that happens compared to good ones has drastically gone in favour of the good ones now. But it happened a lot later than people said it was going to.
I think what I've learned from watching this is that it's not the same show that I watched when I was a child, and I can get different things from it, which I think is really good. I can still watch things that I maybe thought were boring when I was younger and now become meaningful and altogether sadder now that I'm older, and also things which I maybe liked are maybe a little bit puerile, or some of the stuff might be thinly written or a bit sexist, but I think remarkably, so much of this show still stands up for me as just really, really entertaining. And my perspective might have changed, but there's still like lots of really good stuff in there.
I think it is worth saying. We say it on podcasts when we review the episodes, but probably at this point at the end of a season, it's a good time to restate it. We do come to the episodes with a political awareness of today, which I think sometimes you forget, and you think, well, it wasn't that long ago, but as we've said before, it really wasn't that long ago that in major UK comedy shows there were people still blacking up on a regular basis, and I can think of at least 2, 3 major comedy shows that all did that between 2000 and about 2013, I guess.
Come Fly With Me was 2012, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we will always look with the lens of things like that not being acceptable. Not that anyone's blacked up in TNG so far. I mean, thank God for that. But
don't you remember the Season 4 episode when Wesley blacks up?
But we can come across as overly critical and harsh on the episodes, but I think all of us do at the same time retain the ability to view something as having been made at a certain time. Just getting that out there before we knock them down again.
Well, and I think maybe some people might feel that we're overly harsh on particularly Season 3 and 4. That, when we are very critical, even though we've enjoyed it, I can only think, the only episode where I can think of that we left it all unanimously really liking it is Half a Life.
I had no idea that we would all come away half alive, which I don't think is generally thought of in that sphere, but I think it's one of the best episodes of anything ever written now.
To be honest, if we'd done that episode when we started the podcast as well, our opinions would be different then, when we were young and enthusiastic, compared to now when we're bitter husks of men.
Yeah, I genuinely think like we might have been more dismissive, but now we're
the sense
older
of death
and,
is upon us.
Yeah, older and altogether sadder.
And it's an episode that is ahead of its time, I feel. As a lot of Next Generation can be when it wants to be. Even last week's episode, Redemption Part 2, I feel that the way Data reacts to Picard's kind of unconscious racism was very progressive, particularly for its time.
And another thing to say as well is that our analysis of these episodes, and using Half-Life as an example, our thoughts on it will, of course, also have been heavily influenced by what is happening at the time, not only in the world at large, but in our personal... I mean, like, if we had done Half-Life back in May of 2018, was it when we started this series? I think I perhaps wouldn't have engaged in it in the same way that I did dealing with it in 2021, because I have now had a child, and there is nothing that really reminds you of your own mortality more than having a child.
And similarly, I reviewed that not long after losing my mother, and it really hit home for me a lot, and it provided a nice framework for me to talk about some things that I maybe wouldn't have otherwise. So, you know, people who slag off podcasts, you can all off.
You know, it is, maybe it's more sentimental than we usually are, but I think this podcast has made me appreciate The Next Generation in a way I didn't before.
Yeah. I think we, even just going between series 1 and now, I think we as a group engage with the show differently to how we did. I think if we went back to season 1 now, we'd engage with season 1 differently now to how we did when we started this podcast.
One more comment, this is from Stuart. I felt at the time like this season had a greater sense of continuity than any before. They opened with 2 episodes concluding the previous season, events in Data's day setting up the Drumhead, then the multi-episode setup of Sela and another cliffhanger. It all felt more cohesive and purposeful, even kind of experimental for primetime. Of course, serialized stories are the new normal, but looking back, it feels like this is at least partially due to this era TNG and how its influence spun out to Deep Space Nine, The X-Files, etc. So what do you think of that? Do you think this show this season benefited from the added continuity? I would say mostly yes, but also no.
It depends on the story. So, I mean, the likes of... I was going to say the first 2 episodes, not so much the first episode, but the second episode benefited from that continuing story. Some of the Klingon stuff, less so.
Yeah, and I would say the whole Sela storyline at the end, Denise Crosby coming back, it's just like, it's fan wank, I guess. It's bringing back an actor without really any good reason to, and that stuff. But I would say as we move into season 5, some of the continuity stuff we get there, yeah, brilliant. And there is more than you think. There is more character stuff than you think. Sure, it generally has a reset. Sure, the personnel remain mostly the same. But there's plenty there. For them to say it's a purely episodic show isn't true. Sure, it's not cliffhanger after cliffhanger after cliffhanger, one continuing storyline. But I don't want that. I don't think that's a good mode of storytelling. But yeah, I think the character stuff that they do, a lot of it in the background, yeah, really interesting. Even look at Chief O'Brien in this season, who got a wife and retained that wife, and then didn't put his socks away. So
I was going to say, despite being an arsehole, he managed to retain that wife.
Yeah, so I think that's nice. But anyway, enough of our waffle, which you've heard enough of already. Let us, basically, the format of this is for some reason we decided a decade ago, James and I will each say the title of an episode, and Alex will try and tell us a very vague synopsis of it, and we'll tell him if he's right or if he's wrong. Also, because Alex is a very helpful human, he names his episodes with some kind of sarcastic comment, so he's got them to fall back on, and we will tell him his file names as a clue to himself if he doesn't remember the episode. Does that sound convoluted enough for you? Good. Let's begin.
First Contact.
I remember us joking about the fact of making podcast jokes, and I mean, I don't remember it. Let's just get that out there now. I don't remember it, but obviously it will be related to a First Contact event. What was my clue to myself? let's just skip to that early.
First Contact, in brackets, not the podcast.
Brilliant. Okay. You'll have to hint me in the direction.
It's a format breaker, and Riker is the lead.
Is that the one where he is decked out like an alien species, and they discover that he isn't on the part of that species on the planet, and then it's a race against time to get him away?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That was a good episode.
Yes, it was.
Although his fingers were weird.
See, you know all of it. That's great.
I feel we're off to a start that is not going to be indicative of the rest of the podcast.
Remember me.
Yeah, exactly. I do not remember it. The clue?
Gaslighting the musical.
Beverly is convinced that something is wrong and no one believes her.
How did you get from that?
Because I remember Beverly being gaslighted by everyone on the ship.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I think that'll do. Yeah.
Although a musical, I would love to see a musical. No, not even as a joke. No, I'm not going to go there.
The Host.
That was the Trill episode?
It was.
Wow. Helps that we did it recently.
Your clue for that was Jazz Riker.
Jazz Riker? Oh, was he dressed in some weird outfit? I think, maybe. After he had the Trill put inside him. Yeah. Yes, and it felt like a missed opportunity to deal with certain issues, and yeah. Fine, but were it made now, would be better. God, you hope it'd be better. I mean, it could be awful.
Final mission.
Clue?
I envy your uncrushed ribs.
No, I honestly haven't a clue.
Right, do you remember a character who might have had a final mission this season?
No.
Departing series regular?
Wesley.
Yep.
Was someone crushed in a shuttle or something?
Kind of. So he a shuttle crashed.
Right.
And then there was a fountain which was guarded by a sort of computer sentry that had a puzzle that Wesley had to solve, and Picard fell under some rocks.
Right. No, I have no memory of that. I remember an episode with Picard stuck down a bloody big hole, but that was a previous series, wasn't it? Yeah. You'd think that the exit of a series regular would be more memorable.
To be fair, I think that's a memorable episode. I thought that once the water fountain was mentioned, you'd be like, oh yeah, final mission.
I mean, if that's the thing that makes the episode stand out, is a water fountain.
It's a magic water fountain.
All it makes me think of is knowing you with Partridge saying, and for the first time ever on a UK chat show, a beautiful fountain.
It's the first time ever on US television that a beautiful fountain has been covered in some sort of invisible shield. Identity crisis.
Klingons?
No.
No. What was the clue?
Puppetry of the shadow penis.
Ah, is that the episode with Geordie being haunted by some sort of shadow creature on a cheap-looking set?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. I would not have remembered that without the clue, but I sort of remember, and it was fine. I don't really remember much about it apart from that set that didn't look great and a shadow and a sort of semi-passable take on the Blade Runner enhance zoom-in scene.
That was great. It was on the holodeck and he could...
Oh, yeah. Oh, maybe it was better than I remember.
Plus, they went to the detail of having him in his old costume.
Amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't remember that.
Reunion.
Dull, boring, Klingon politics, and then Denise Crosby is back because actors like work.
Nope.
Oh, was that Redemption? Oh, Christ. Reunion, is that the one where... I'm going to guess, based on the fact that the titles seem vaguely similar, that's the one with Worf's son.
I'm quite impressed. I did not think you would remember this one at all.
I only remember because they mentioned Worf's son in Redemption.
And your clue for that one was, don't let the sun go down on me.
Brilliant. Always helpful to my future self. Although, actually, you know what? No, that's not the worst clue. I could have got it from that. I don't remember anything about the episode, and to be honest, if it hadn't been for Redemption, I probably wouldn't have remembered that Worf had a son. But here we are.
The Nth Degree.
We didn't do that long ago, did we?
No.
I mean, it's all relative, but...
Yeah, relatively.
What was the clue?
John Nettles in space.
Bergerac?
Yeah, you're actually on the right line.
Senora de Bergerac?
Yes, there you go.
Is that the Barclay episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I really have to go around the houses to to get those clues, but it is a startling insight into the deranged way that my mind works.
Galaxy's Child.
Is that a Troy episode?
No.
No.
Are you thinking of The Child? There?
Yeah, I was just working on the assumption that maybe it would have been similar end of things.
I think you'll get it from the clue.
Yeah.
It's about ethics and warp core engineering.
I won't get it from that, other than obviously there's some sort of horrible sexisty, Gamergatey type of thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the context of it, though.
Right, well, who is most likely to be in a warp core?
Geordie. Oh, is that the one where he tries it on with Leia Brahms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he was a creepy bastard.
Legacy?
That was about middle of the season, wasn't it?
Not really.
It's when you start.
What was the clue?
Sarah Connor's bodysuit.
Was there someone that looked a bit like Linda Hamilton?
Yep.
Yeah. Kind of Terminator 1.
Yeah.
Linda Hamilton.
I've no idea what it was that she was doing, but I remember someone that looked a bit like Linda Hamilton.
Looked a bit like Linda Hamilton and also looked a bit like somebody else.
And also, there was a set that looked a bit like the Crystal Maze.
That's happened more than once.
Yeah, that's true. So, like, I guess we just watched an episode with Denise Crosby. There's another connection here.
Was it a relative of
Yeah.
Tasha's? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Fine. Oh yes, that's right. Yes. Yeah. I do remember. I don't remember if it was any good or not, but I sort of remember that being a thing. Was it any good?
It's middling. It's not
Yeah.
great.
Basically fine.
Yeah.
Not even that. Okay.
Nearly fine.
Nearly fine.
Um,
The sliding scale of spoilist reviews.
The Wounded.
Well, someone's a bit wounded. Presumably someone on a planet.
Nope.
No. What was the clue?
Pot roast.
Pot roast. Presumably that refers to Chief O'Brien.
Good. Yep.
He was talking about having breakfast, and the way that the script was written made it sound like he had pot roast for breakfast. I think that is the only thing I remember from that episode.
Do you remember some singing?
No.
Oh.
Singing.
Yeah.
I dread to think.
Chief O'Brien singing.
Oh Christ. Yeah, no, I do remember that now. What was the actual plot of the episode, though? Presumably not just him talking about pot roast and singing.
So his former commander had basically gone rogue and started attacking Cardassian ships.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember.
Got a tough one here. The Best of Both Worlds Part 2.
Middling sequel to a good episode.
Nope, that's wrong. It's a great episode of TNG, and you are wrong.
It was fine.
Do you remember what your clue was for that?
No.
It's Robo Pants.
Oh, Picard's. Yes. Yeah. I am amused that the Borg go to the effort of generating robo underwear.
Well, they have Robo Shame.
Yeah, exactly.
The Mind's Eye.
Oh, Christ knows.
I mean, this is recent.
It's either Data or Worf.
No.
No? What was the clue?
Obviously, the Klingon did it.
Right, okay. Wait, hang on, is that not Worf then if it's Klingons? Normally he's tied into it somehow. Is this the one occasion that he's not?
He's hardly really involved in this, is he?
Oh, it's the really recent one that we did.
Yeah.
Where you have the older Klingon and the younger Klingon, and it's really obvious that it's not the younger one because that would be the obvious thing. So it's the older one, and then there's a race to the end to stop Geordie. Or am I mixing up two episodes there?
No.
No,
that's-
no,
you've
no,
completely
you got it.
nailed it. Yeah.
The Loss.
What was the clue?
I'm disabled.
One of the crew becomes disabled.
In a way, yeah.
Have they become blind?
In a way.
Geordie becomes blind, but not in this season.
Oh, Troy can't sense anyone.
Yep. There you go.
I mean, it was process of elimination, to be perfectly honest. It's either that or Riker can't get it up anymore.
No, there is another episode of TNG. I think it's season 5, where a character is disabled.
I'm sure that's dealt with tact.
Devil's Due.
What was the clue?
Who wears short shorts?
Presumably... No, actually, no, I can't even... Who was wearing short shorts? Picard?
Picard.
I mean, that was a good guess.
He was kidnapped in his pajamas.
I remember Picard in his pajamas, but I couldn't. No. What was the context?
Well, if you think of the title, the devil as a character.
Was it Q?
No.
Because if it was Q, it would be called Devil's Q.
That's great. Should use that next time. There's a woman who's pretending to be Satan on a planet, and they made a deal with her apparently 1,000 years ago.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It felt that in my mind, for some reason, that feels more like a TOS episode than a TNG episode.
Well, it was originally, I think, Phase 2 script.
What a surprise.
It was originally a Gene Roddenberry pitch for a Star Trek episode, and then it became a Phase 2, so it goes right back. But yeah, you're right. You're remembering a thing.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know even I remember you saying that before. It just sounds like it, doesn't it?
Brothers.
Klingons.
Nope.
What was the clue?
Super Smash Brothers.
Super Smash Brothers, brilliant. Is it Data and Law?
It is.
Boom.
Yes.
That's the one where Brent Spiner plays 3 characters. What talent. The Drumhead.
What was the clue? I say that knowing I think what the clue was, because I think I'd lost the will to live by that point.
The Bumhead, brackets.
Brilliant.
I'm very childish, close brackets.
Courtroom scenes.
Yep. I mean, that's basically it. But quite good.
Yeah, a very long courtroom scene. Basically Measure of a Man again, but not quite as good.
In theory.
Is that the one where one of the crew suddenly starts getting randy for Data?
Yes, it is.
There we go. Boom. Again, recent episode, much easier to remember.
Your clue for that was a very passionate kiss in the torpedo bay. Ooh,
I mean, how could it be anything else?
Clues.
And what was my clue for clues?
Thanks for the memory.
So it's an episode that is using exactly the same plot as Red Dwarf's Thanks for the Memory.
Yeah. I mean, I feel you basically just told yourself that there. That's
yeah.
That's too good a clue.
I know how this works. It's called future proofing.
Suddenly human.
And the clue was?
It'll be alt-right on the night.
Oh, Space Nazis. Or no. Was it someone that was just a bit sort of, alt-righty? A bloke?
Kind of like, do you remember Picard sort of adopting a guy?
No.
Human child who'd been raised by aliens. I mean, classic Star Trek idea.
And he was a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, vaguely. Yeah.
I mean, like, I'd sort of forgotten this one as well, really.
I had vague memories of there being someone that was a bit alt-righty. But that's about as far as that memory goes. Clearly a great episode.
Redemption.
That's the boring Klingon. Or at least the season 4 episode is boring and Klingon-y. And then season 5's one is a little better.
Yep.
Season 4's didn't even have an arm wrestle with a knife. I mean, to be honest, I live in East London. I could just go down the road if I wanted to see that. I mean, you have to wonder how much that seeps in. Our 3-year-old has started coming up to us and saying the phrase, "Mummy, Daddy, broken nosy, you never forget." We've no idea why. All we can assume is that the influence of the local populace is infiltrating this household.
Cupid.
The Q Robin Hood episode.
Yeah.
Is this the last time we have a Q pun?
No.
Oh, Christ. So we got to find more Q puns. Coupons. Oh, there we add it to the list.
That is on the list.
Of course it is.
There's only one more episode that actually has Q in the title.
Yeah.
Well, thank God for that, because we've eliminated most of the good Q puns at this point. Do you think season 2 of Picard will have some Q puns?
No.
I don't know. I kind of think they might.
They wouldn't go to that much effort.
I don't know. I can see them thinking that it's cleverer than it is, though.
Yeah.
We're doing what the fans loved. The fans loved the Q puns, so we thought we'd do them again, but worse.
I mean, like, I can see them doing Dial Q for Quirder. I'm thinking that's good.
Actually, no, it's Picard Series 2, so it's going to have to sort of up the ante and be more offensive. It's going to be Quim, isn't it? That's going to be the title of the episode.
But that's not a pun.
Well, neither are half of the Q episode titles.
Hayden Q.
The clue for that, by the way, was a quiver full of arrows.
Future Imperfect.
What was the clue?
Inception.
Okay, so it's Inception then.
Sort of.
What? People Caught in Dreams.
No.
No. I don't remember. What was that?
Riker wakes up and 10 years have passed.
And it wasn't real.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Minuet was there.
Yeah. I vaguely remember.
And it was all sort of a high-tech holodeck used by a child to build their entire world.
Right.
A plot which Discovery would do in its season 3 finale. But worse.
Yeah, you see, they hadn't reached that section of memory alpha yet. Family.
Picard gets down and dirty in a French field with his brother.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping when I said brothers that you'd get mixed up with family.
No, I remembered family because that was a good episode. And of course it paved the way for setting up Picard and showing us that dog's enormous bollocks.
Your clue for that one was we have all been to RADA.
Yes, some very heightened performances.
Data's Day.
That one was a bit skitty, wasn't it? I can't recall exactly what Data was doing, but I remember it following him around and him doing the voiceover.
Yeah.
It's kind of a parody of all those MASH episodes.
Yeah.
And it was
okay.
It was Chief O'Brien's wedding.
Oh Christ, yes. Maybe it wasn't as good as I remember.
No, it's good.
I think it was alright.
It's good.
Yeah.
Your clue for that was tappy tappy tap, tap tap tappy, bloody hell, it's Fred Astaire.
Yes, there's the dance routine. Yes, someone clearly turned to Brent Spiner and went, Brent, you got any tricks? And like Sylvester McCoy playing the spoons. Out come the tap shoes.
Well, I think rather somebody turned to Gates McFadden and said, have you got any talents?
Oh, sorry, yes, of course, yeah, it was her, wasn't it, yeah.
Have you got any talents?
That made it sound really harsh.
We know you can't act, but...
What exactly are you bringing?
Oh, the unicycle. Interesting.
Half a Life.
Logan's Run.
That's your clue to it. John Logan's Run.
John Logan's Run. I was so pleased with that pun, I clearly had to use it again. Yeah, that was... I think that's possibly the best episode of the season.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And certainly our best podcast, so if you've not listened to that, I'd highly recommend it.
And certainly our most depressing.
Yeah, so if you're feeling down, maybe not. Finally, we reached the last one. I'm sure you're like, oh, there's that episode I want to mention. Night Terrors.
Is that the one where Troy's being terrorized in her dreams?
Yes.
Yes. I knew there was one this series because it always seems that she gets an invasion of privacy in her dreams.
Yeah, I mean that's really her character trait, and your clue for that was, just for completeness, all caps, oh Jesus Christ, not the lift.
The lift?
I mean, there's some sort of nightmare sequences, isn't there? Does the lift go wrong? Does Geordie get chucked out the lift or something?
Yeah, that's when Geordie gets chucked out the lift. I remember that because there's one of those funny Next Generation edits on YouTube where Geordie falls out the lift and then Picard turns to him and goes, "Welcome to the bridge," smiling.
I'm sure it translates better in the visual medium.
Well, that's the sort of episode you'd get if we had a Patreon. So...
No, it isn't. This has been far more quality.
Does anyone have any final thoughts before we leave Season 4 behind, never to talk about it again?
Don't worry, Season 5 is when it gets good.
It's clearly been much better. Despite the time it has taken us to get through it, which has just been the result of many a life issue and a global pandemic, to be fair, which you would expect would give you more time, but has resulted bizarrely in us all having less time.
We are still working. We have jobs where we can work from home.
Oh, are you not full-time content creators?
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, that's us done, and we'll be back for Season 5 at some point. I'm not saying right away. I make no promises.
It never ends. And yet it must.
I mean, we're going at a slightly faster pace than recent times, but that's not saying a lot. We'll be back with a proper episode, Darmok, I believe, soon enough. But until then, take care. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.